Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev, everyone. So we have a verse from the Bhagavatam. It's 3:8:26. Puṁsāṁ sva-kāmāya vivikta-mārgair abhyarcatāṁ kāma-dughāṅghri-padmam pradarśayantaṁ kṛpayā nakhendu mayūkha-bhinnāṅguli-cāru-patram. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moonlike toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. And just next to it, I would like to read from one of our Bhagavad Gita card texts what Guruji says. Many people practice their sadhana only mechanically, outside. They are doing their duty is good, their service is perfect, their love inside of them is good, but they consider themselves very great devotees. If you are dominated by such spiritual pride, you will not perceive the Lord in his fullness. But those who, truly without any selfish motive, do only things to surrender to him and love him, serve him, not for the sake of attaining something, not for the sake of being near to the Lord, no, just for the sake of serving him, for his enjoyment, not their enjoyment, they are truly blessed. They, for sure, realize the Lord fully. Yeah, so we have the first as a very scriptural verse, and I think me by reading it already everyone went into the mode of, yes, we know this already. We heard it maybe 1,000 times already since we have started this tradition of morning and evening satsangs. And I think that's just the point, that we hear things maybe another 1,000 or another 10,000 times until it get established inside. And the first thought that comes is that we do all these things, and of course it's not something new. Jesus preached love. Every avatar of God in his own way preached and showed love. With a small asterisk, we don't really know what is love, but yet we know when God comes, he is love, he shows love, and the essence of everything, as Guruji says, is also just love. So why are we complaining that God doesn't say anything different? No, it's not right. He is always the same. That's why we're seeking him, because he is always the same, established in the truth, and that's eternal. So the eternal or eternity, that is love. And when we come around and say, wow, he should say something different in the satsang, then maybe it's us. Maybe it's us we should change and adapt to something to move over to the eternal. So when we read this verse, like how it resonates, the Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. So it's so simple actually. When somebody loves you, and let's say it would be true, then that person loves you continuously, actually no matter how you are, and no matter what are the circumstances, and that love from that person flowing to you, it would always be in service to you. Now, how would it be? Let's play for a moment. If you were, God, and there would be somebody loving you like that. Always, no matter what are the circumstances, no matter how you are, consistently that love from devotee flows to you as being God. It's the same principle. So this is actually what is being said here, you know. His lotus feet are the source of all awards, achieved by devotional service free from material contamination. I serve God because I want to have a car. And it's very tempting because God can give a lot. No? But this is exactly what the verse says, is that, and what Guruji also says here in his own way of saying it, the true key to freedom is not only serving God, because it's actually a very long way of attaining that inside of you. I mean, until we have come inside to the resolution that we, with a good feeling, we really want to do it. Because before, it's only we have to do it, or circumstances force us to do it. But actually, you wanting to do it, you projecting your intention out there and attracting opportunities and challenges that make you go into devotional service, embrace challenges, this is not something that we readily say yes to at the first place. So to attain devotional service, to attain the willingness to not only serve, not only to serve God, but to serve God for His pleasure and not for our pleasure, it is quite a rocky path inside. And that rocky path is called Bhakti Marga. Yeah, it is what I always like to say. It is not the path of devotion only, but it's really the path to that devotion. Because that key is inside, that feeling that we want to do it. And even going a little bit deeper even into that feeling, it would mean that we want to do it really for His pleasure. And that will be free from contamination, and that will be real freedom, because how relieving is it to really not bother about our own things? When Guruji takes away some demon from us, it might be a large degree of arrogance, it might be a large degree of fantasy, it might be a large degree of infatuation or vanity. How relieved is it? How relieving is it after He has taken it away? And only afterwards we realize, oh, we didn't really need it. It's so good He took it away. It's like you have 2 cans of garbage in front of your house and you learn to live with them and say, this is how so beautiful it looks. And then the communal or the public service, they take it away. And then suddenly you realize it's actually much better like this. Yeah, so this is how it would feel to be really without that contamination. And it's not, although He says for God's pleasure, in the end He is only serving us by saying, if you go that way of not focusing on your own needs, but become really a servant of God, really look as what would please God and not your ego, then that's the key to freedom, because then you really don't have to bother or worry about anything. And what do we want, in essence? We don't want to worry anymore. So as we don't want to worry anymore, and most of us are still worrying, we're doing something wrong. And the wrong thing that we do is that we still expect or want some things for us. And the principle of bhakti, the principle of becoming a Haridasa, means to actually start serving not ourselves, but start serving God. The moment we really do that, we leave it up to Him, because the trust has become big enough to say He will take care of whatever we need. So the more we go really into this, more we go surrender, to fully trust Him that He, with His loving hand, He will just take us through lives, and He will guide us where we have to be, how we have to be. Or is the other one, the more ignorant one, where we say, no, I don't want to do that. I rather would like to take care of it a little bit myself and not trust God fully. Yeah, so this is what it actually means to be without contamination. Now, sitting back there this morning, I had an inspiration of what I would like to add to this satsang, because now I think it's like 10 years that I've been with Bhakti Marga, with Guruji, and maybe 7 years since I live here in this ashram. And I came up with 9 points of what I hopefully learned here, or what I've experienced here over the years. And the list can be infinitely extended. You might have your own points of how to bring that list to really an infinite amount of things that we learn. It doesn't mean that I have completely 100% realized all these things, but I wanted to share with you a little bit of what I've listed here. So the first point, always in relation to that verse in the beginning, which says we need to learn how to find that devotional service, that service to God. We need to learn, we need to aim for finding it inside. So the first point, you need Guruji. So this sounds almost trivial, but what I learned is you really can't venture into the journey yourself. If you are in some way serious and sincere about reaching God in this life, me as a devotee of Paramahamsa Vishwananda, I wouldn't even say you can take every guru, although you have, of course, different devotees being connected to different gurus. But for me, it's you need Guruji as a Satguru, whereas there's not so many on this plane. Because only by his guidance we can go through this maze, through this jungle of the mind. Because although the teaching, the message is quite simple, just love, the pitfalls and the challenges and the things that make it really difficult, where we don't know even that they are there, those are being handled by the Guru. And I learned that really, that the journey that I've come with him 10 years now, I would have never been able to go as deeply with him as, let's say, without a guru. It is completely impossible. I probably would have been eaten by the first demons just around the corner easily. And these demons are many nature. Let's say you can blow up your ego in a way that you think you're great, and maybe the next week you are broke and you live on the street or something. This can happen very fast. Or you think you're the most beautiful person, whatever, and the next week you're in hospital and you need to stay there for 6 months. So these are all things in Maya that teach you how to be humble, teach you how to be yourself and not to create a fake image about ourselves. And in this ashram, that's what I say, with Guruji, or if we extend the ashram towards the whole Bhakti Marga Sangha globally, Guruji is making it milder. He teaches you the lesson, but you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be as rough as in Maya outside. So he often says that Maya is not as merciful as the Guru. So that's why I said, what I learned here is you need Guruji, otherwise how can you be serious about wanting to reach God? And even what or who is God? What I learned here is that by Guruji's teaching, and we all can probably agree that he knows God. He has seen him. For us here, for me, he is God. I repeat that. He is God for me. And to learn how he is, to learn what he likes, is maybe very different to what I like. And I learned that very much also, that he has a completely different taste about what he likes. One is a surprising and very positive thing is that God, he doesn't care so much about fancy and show. You cannot impress him, but he really cares about if there is love in your heart. And even if the whole world would go wrong way, which is maybe happening right now, maybe if there would be 10 or 20 people like that, God would still come and God would not let the world perish because of these 20 people. It doesn't sound very rational, but God, He really, wherever is that tiny spark of true love, He will rush there. So this is He has a very different taste, and his good taste for true focus, that was also very surprising to me. Like, it's not enough to just be devoted to God, but we have to be 100% focused on God. And that's something that was really, and it still is a big teaching. It's not enough to just have Him in your life. You must dedicate your life to Him if you're serious about it. So that's what I learned about who is God, and of course many other things. But let's move to point 2. So I learned that the key of all of this is, of course, the mindset. And what I learned over the years is how difficult it is to actually transform it. We say, yeah, you just have to change the mindset. But how difficult is it? First of all, the mindset is something very, very subtle. It is material, but it is very, very subtle. But how to access it, how to gain an overview over it, how to learn how to tame it, it's very difficult. So what I learned is mostly the mindset, it works with images and, of course, emotions. So that's the teaching of putting the feet of the guru into the mind, which is like an inner cinema, and you charge it with positive feelings of devotion. That's how you gain control of the mindset. It's like you have a huge gallery of images, of paintings, but then what you do, you become the owner of that gallery, say the National Gallery of some famous city, and then you say, no, since I'm the owner of this now, I want to have all the paintings out, and I only want to have one painting in this gallery, and this will be the feet of my guru. And every day I will sit just in front of that painting and I look at it, and more it gets imprinted, and like this, the whole life that you currently lead, it will gain a different direction, gain a different flavor. And this is how it works. This is how it mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9. And what I also learned is how difficult it actually is to change that. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not even something that happens over 3 years. I think maybe around 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a big tsunami hitting Japan. And I was actually in India at that time when it happened. And I looked at, like, what is happening? Like, how will they ever clean this up? You know, not to mention all the lives that were taken. But I just saw these huge waves of water flooding the ports, flooding the land, destroying pretty much everything. And I looked at, like, how are they going to clean this up? It will take, like, not years, decades of how to repair this. And this is how I would equate it to the mindset, because over lives we have really allowed multiple tsunamis, like making a huge mess in the mindset, and now how to clean it up. It's not so easy, really, to clean up the mindset, and one thing depends on the other. You have to remove that one, and then this can move. No, before that you have to move this, and it all comes in a very irrational way. It's not so logic how this happens. Yeah, Guruji has to orchestrate a lot to make it happen. And that's why we have so many leelas in Bhakti Marga, because this is the way to get these things corrected. And here again, it's reference to point 1. You need the guru. Otherwise, how are you ever going to clean this up? Yeah, so the mindset is key for this. And of course, the mindset, cleaning it up over the years, over the decades, using one entire life under the guidance of a guru to clean up the mindset, it's still, then we are in good shape. Then it was actually pretty fast. No? The third point, karma yoga is actually difficult. So is there anyone here in this room or anyone listening to this recording where you say, in Bhakti Marga, I suddenly had to do something which I didn't like doing? Resonating? So we all get put into positions where suddenly we discover we don't do only the things that we like, and we don't do the things that we dislike. No, but very often is we don't do the things that we like, and we have to do the things that we dislike. So the principle of karma yoga is that the fruits are not yours, it's God's. So to actually perform karma yoga without having any personal interest, without having any personal motivation into what we do, but really try to do it because it has to be done, I have found that in these 10 years that I've been with Guruji, quite difficult. Because always there's a trace of, how can I make it motivating for me? Because we also live by motivation. But Krishna actually says by karma yoga, you just do it because it has to be done, and then you leave the fruits to him. But doing it actually, I discover it is actually very difficult. And the more difficult it is, the more it shows us to how much attached we are to personal fruits. Point 4. Sometimes I wonder if I'm a devotee, because the deeper you go into the mindset, the more it shows that how selfish actually the motives are. And how does that compare to the verse which I've quoted in the beginning? Is like, you do service without any material contamination, without any personal desire for gain. Because I would say 99.8% of Bhakti Marga people, we join Bhakti Marga because of personal gain. So we could argue that the utmost personal gain is to actually become a pure devotee, free from all these desires, because of course that's best for us. And what I learned is that actually to be a devotee, or what Guruji says is a devotee, when we talk of the Alvars, the Vitala saints, or Mirabai, Ramanujacharya, Nitya Suris, all of them, or you look at Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are devotees, Bhagavatam devotees. Haribhakta Santa, the song, all of these are great devotees. And then we are here in Bhakti Marga, and I don't want to say I feel like a pig, but then how do we compare to being a devotee? And yet at the same time, this great opportunity is there to actually become a devotee. So it is kind of a paradox when I say, over the years here, I sometimes doubt, like, am I really a devotee? Because the goal of being a devotee, of what Guruji says is a devotee, it is quite aloof, it is quite high, and at the same time, I see it happening. At the same time, by actually looking at it, of how I am a pig, maybe, exactly in that moment the pig goes away, and the more noble side, the more what we call devotional side of me, it really has an opportunity to gain more space. So it is really both. And I've seen that happening, that even like being exposed to the many doubts, being exposed to things where I say, I can't do this, I'm not like this, I don't want this. And that moment goes away. And looking at the thing, over the years, then Guruji actually is creating a true devotee identity inside of me, where I'm not so much afraid anymore of associating with true saints. It's amazing. Over the years. 5. In Bhakti Marga, I discovered you get what I call a topography of yourself. You know, when they have scans of the earth, you get a complete 3D image of what is the shape of a certain territory. The topography of Switzerland, for example. Yeah, and you see, we have the high mountains, then you have the low valleys, we have the lakes, they're this deep, etc. And what I felt is, with Guruji, I came, probably like everyone, you come with a certain self-created image of yourself. I am this high, and then I'm this low, you know? And Guruji, he says, no, let me give you a real scan of what is actually the situation. And through the years, you get quite a good topography. You get quite a good 3D scan of what's actually happening. And you see it through the situations as they happen. Because they will happen in the way how we are. And surprisingly, I discovered things where I make myself too low. He said, no. And the situation showed, no, you can go in, you can do this. And it got corrected to a higher level. We say, oh, actually, I'm competent to do this. I'm courageous enough to go in and do this. Whereas in other things where I put myself so high and I said, I can easily do it, Guru showed me, here you fell. And it got corrected to a downward level. So like this, you next time try it in a little bit more humble way and say, maybe with a lot of luck and Guruji's grace and me putting a lot of effort, maybe I can do it. Yeah. So I had many situations like this, and not even like through Guruji directly, but also in the Sangha. You know, when you open your eyes, you see how you're really reacting. You get a very, very nice and exact topography of how you are. It's like you go to a dentist, you tell the dentist before opening the mouth, everything is in perfect order, you know. And then the dentist says, can you please make and my God, yeah. And then let's start the work. Yeah. So this is actually what I've seen, what's happening. And of course, you let go of this outside perfectionism. You know, you make room for a lot of bloopers that can happen. You know, bloopers is like things that are not perfect, but yet they make the thing entertaining. Yeah. So this is what I learned, to let go of outside perfectionism and to see and to appreciate that Guruji gives you a true extract of what is the situation, what's going on. Point 6. I learned not to live for myself. So, of course, there's still some room in me that doesn't want to have anything to do with this, Bhakti Marga. I said, no, I just want to shut the door behind me, and I want at least have a small island of self-gratification. So what I do, I go out to the supermarket, I get a Bhakti Marga car, I sit myself in a cafe, or I watch some YouTube videos in the evening. But this is actually it. I like it. The space for personal life has become very, very little. So even like I tell this to a normal person, this is really what you do for yourself, to go out to the cafe, have a coffee, then come back and maybe in the evening watch a YouTube video. Like, yeah. So it has come down to that small level of self gratification, and the rest I only do for Bhakti Marga, and I actually happily do it. But it took time to actually learn that I want to do this. It's not that I have to do it. In the beginning, it's like, it's so much sadhana, so much seva, so many personal processes on top, you just get crushed. Yeah. But over the years, I actually discovered that I want to do this. Yeah. I still also want to have my private coffee and not want to have anything to do with this, but it has become so small that actually the balance of it is okay for me. So this, what I learned, is actually don't live for yourself. It doesn't make you happy. Live for him, makes you happy. Very, very easy formula. You're looking for bliss, start serving Guruji. Point 7. So I come from a Christian background, and I came, probably like a lot of people, also with the image of how are the devotees of the Lord. So if you come from a Christian background, of course, even if you're not fully active, like my parents, we were not like Christians, how you would say. Yet I went to a Catholic boarding school 5 years. I was involved into some of these activities, etc. And then mostly what you have, the devotees of Lord Jesus Christ, they're more like the sheep. Yeah, he's coming to get his sheep. And we're maybe behaving also like sheep. Yeah? Look at the sheep, look at the flock of sheep, and you know how they're behaving. And they're also very soft, you know, I like being around them, like you can cuddle them. They don't bite you. And then Guruji made a point not far back, actually. He said, no, the devotees of Lord Krishna, they are not like this. And also Lord Krishna is not like Jesus, you know. Maybe Jesus, he had the idea to you give your first cheek and the other cheek, and then Guruji said, but rightfully so. Nobody asked what's happening after you've offered the second cheek already. And then God will crush you. I repeat, then God will crush you. And this is more into the direction of Lord Krishna. Krishna, he will not wait. And there's also like anyone who is fearing that the world could get destroyed, I think that you don't know who is Lord Krishna. Yeah? So, Lord Krishna is the one who will crush the enemy. He will not necessarily give the other cheek. He will reflect the love of those who love him, and he will reflect the hatred of those who hate him. And He will always reestablish Dharma on this planet. So there's no fear of the loss of the world. And then His devotees. If you look at the devotees of Jesus Christ, no, really, I like Christianism, don't get me wrong. Yeah, but it's just is a difference. And the devotees of Lord Jesus Christ, they're more like sheep. And the Lord is always compassionate and we can be stupid, etc. I'm not saying that sheep are stupid. But then if you look at the devotees of Lord Krishna, like you have to become, not a sheep, but you have to become a lion at some point to actually walk this path. Like if this path doesn't make you a lion in some way, lion in terms of you need to focus, what is the prey? The prey, quote unquote, would be the feet of the master. You have to want this, yeah. And the other thing is how strong you are. And the other thing is also how you report to your master. The master is compassionate, but also Lord Krishna has many, many more aspects out of that love than, let's say, when we associate with Jesus Christ. It's always this compassion. He can take all the sins. He will let himself be beaten up for us. This is the image, although he chose it out of his strength, but Krishna is not like this. Krishna, he gives you one test, 2 opportunities, but then if you don't get it, if you continue to behave like a sheep, then you get a slap, another reminder, you get a few other opportunities to become finally a lion, you engage yourself in the path, you become strong, you don't cry around like a baby, and then you need to move on and start serving the Lord who is strong. You look at Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, this is Vibhuti Yoga, how is the opulence in the Vibhutis of the Lord? So in some way, if you try to associate with Krishna being weak, you can't associate. Because weakness doesn't exist in this world. Yeah, so this is the thing of how we all experience this path here as a strong current that has to make you strong, because it's the only way to associate with Guruji. That's what I learned. Point 8. So there's fear or there's love. And in the beginning we're all fearful, and maybe you're even afraid of Narasimha. But I'm not, totally not. I love him. It's amazing. Doesn't mean he would come into the door, I wouldn't run away. I don't know. But at least like this, I don't see the fearful aspect there. And yet there's still many more fears probably inside of me. And over the years, these fears have been washed out more and more, and I learned to actually love God more. How does it happen? Like it happened over the years, you get triggered every day. Everything is designed to trigger us. There's a resonance there. And we learn, let's say to sum it up, you learn in the beginning you fear challenges. And it's like, oh no, my life should be nice, like a nice calm sea or a nice calm pond, and there should not be any disturbance. If that would come out, then my life would be perfect. Yeah, this is how is the Western mindset. Yeah. And the mindset in Bhakti Marga, I would say, to survive really well is to actually invite all the challenges in and learn to love them. There's no way to avoid challenges and have a peaceful life. This is the anti-Bhagavad Gita way. But the Bhagavad Gita compliant way would be that you know how to live with challenges. So what I learned over the years is at the beginning you run away from challenges, you fear challenges. Oh no, I don't want this. Is this really for me? Or maybe it's for the other person? And then at some point you actually welcome them. You embrace them as being part of this path or being the path itself. Yeah, referring to the previous point where we cannot stay a sheep, we have to become a lion, devotee of Lord Krishna at some point. Okay, thank you for your patience. Now we have arrived at the final point. 9. God reflects. So we say, yeah, God is like this, God is like that. And then maybe to each one of you, God is different. And still, above all, God chooses to remain a mystery, hiding himself behind Yoga Maya, revealing himself only to very few. So what I learned in 10 years of Bhakti Marga is God reflects. Like, why is he like this to me? Because you are like that to him. Very simple, yeah. So if you ever have a question of why is Guruji behaving like this to me, then look at how you're behaving to him. Then you have God or Guru in the form of the Sangha. You say, I work with Guruji, but I ignore the Sangha. Now that is so wrong, because the Sangha is, let's say, around Guruji, being the expansion of Guruji. Krishna says that in the Kali Yuga, Krishna, he incarnates in the heart of the Bhakta. Yeah? So saying that Guruji is the Lord, then we are the Bhaktas, and he is active in each one of us. So probably today it will happen multiple times during the day that we get triggered, or that the Sangha is reflecting something to you. Yeah? And then why is that so? Isn't it the other person's fault? That's what I have learned in those 10 years of Bhakti Marga. God is only reflecting you. The Sangha is only reflecting you. Yeah, in good ways and bad ways, whatever ways. And it's not to judge, but it's to say, and maybe that's good to close the satsang now. Sorry for taking long. It's to say that it's very plastic. That means it's very subtle and flexible. The moment you change, the Sangha will change the behavior towards you. It's magic. The Sangha won't remember what was yesterday if you change today. That's what I learned. It's really what I learned, that is very flexible in a way. Guruji, he will not hang on to things that were yesterday if he sees that today you have really changed. You have learned from something, and then the whole thing, the magic of Maya, the whole magic of reflection is also, if you change, the mirror changes. Yeah. So this is what I've learned in a nutshell. Thanks for bearing with me. I hope it was kind of useful. And as said, like probably every one of us, you have many, many more points to extend this list. Jai Gurudev.